I'm a psychoanalyzing shit again.
That's how I do. That's my normal state of being. It's always been my normal state of being. For today's cup of coffee, we're going to do a little bit of analysis and review of the movie Sinister. And everybody's like, damn it, thing's old. This is true. It came out in 2012. And so I had just watched it today. So
Yeah,
because
yes, maybe.
Well, the thing is, I have not been a huge a follower of Hollywood for many years. There are a lot of people that's like, oh, I've got to go out and see this, and I've got to follow this person. And no, because many, many years ago, I found out what actors and stuff were about. And most of them are just jerks.
Oh, yeah.
They have the ability to play people who are not jerks. That's the true talent.
Yeah.
But this movie, yeah, a lot of them. This movie was particularly good as far as analysis, not only of the movie itself, but of myself and my reaction. So I thought it was pretty good. And this was originally, it was directed by Scott Derrickson.
Scott Pilgrim.
No, to be good, I'm trying to read this from a distance so that I don't have to print it all off.
Glasses on.
It's the wrong glasses. Those are readers. Those for up close. The other ones are from the other ones. But it was a matter of being written by Robert C. Cargill and Scott Dickerson, and it was produced by Jason Blum, somebody else that I can't see. All this good stuff. And this has spoilers. So if you have not seen this thing, then, and you don't want to know what happens in it, then now's the time to, or just turn the sound off. You can slurp coffee with us and watch the skull. It actually was much better than I thought it was going to be.
The Boogeyman.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like slasher films. Don't.
Psychological horror is always the best.
Well, that's what I have a tendency to gravitate towards. Those are the ones that really interest me. This one, like many of the other ones, and kids like, it's not designed to be watched during the day. I don't care if it was pitch black. And as far as going into the theater, one of the production styles or the filming styles or whatever they're doing today, the scenes are so dark, you don't know what the hell is going on. And that's what good is that? I understand the ambiance of needing the dark, but if the audience can't see it, that's kind of pointless. That was just like the first when he had gone up into the attic of the home and there was something scurrying across the floorboard, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then he squashes it, and I'm like,
well,
I didn't know.
Also not only daylight, you had the light shining in on the TV.
No, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't. Seriously, it would not have mattered. There was no glare on it, or I wouldn't have been watching it. But it was just like, what the hell is that? And it was much later in the movie when I found out that the thing was supposed to be a scorpion.
The fuck?
It was.
Why a scorpion?
There was a reason behind that. There actually was. And the mythology behind the movie was interesting. But within the movie, I thought it was well done in the fact that these characters were very believable. But within horror movie, whatever.
Logic.
Yeah. Why in the hell would you walk through a house in the dark, especially if you know that something is not quite right, and not turn on a light?
You gotta save that power bill. You gotta
explain that to me.
Can't run that light bill up.
Well, no shit now. And it's like, if it's something that you think is odd enough going on that you've got to have either a baseball bat, I think is what he went out with at one time, and you're not going to turn the lights on.
Nope.
Now
Because you can see it.
that's a strong element of dumbass right there.
Yeah, it's just fear logic most of all. Like if you're scared shitless and you're like, oh God, if I turn on the light, I'll see it. And I don't want to know what it looks like.
If you turn on the light, you know where to swing. Now that's just, again, the logic. And that's what's frustrating about
They wanted
watching.
to do the spooks in the dark bit.
That is what is frustrating about a lot of horror movies, because I'm not the only one that would be, this is why it's better that I do this at home than in a theater, that would be sitting there screaming, dumbass, turn on the light. I mean, I really wouldn't. I would have to fight
Turn
that
on the
urge.
light, dumbass!
I would fight that urge. I mean, that's just like these women in the movies. A lot of times all they do is stand there and scream.
Uh-huh.
And so, you know, it just, the horror movie logic is a lot of times beyond me. Mm-hmm. Like cat logic that says, yes, I'm going to put my ass over a candle flame.
Yeah.
So that's always frustrating. That wasn't just this film. That's almost any horror film.
Yeah.
The manipulation of the psyche through the, you know, the videography, which is usually the dark images, the shadowy images. This one was really good with the sound effects. Mm-hmm. They were different than what I had heard before, and almost, they weren't subliminal, but almost to a subliminal quality with the music. And yet you're sitting there, when you start listening to it, it's like, oh, this is breathing that they have incorporated into the eerie music. It was very subtle. It wasn't overdone.
No, it's really good.
It was really good. And some of the images, very disturbing. Not only was this guy supposedly, you know, he was a true crime author. Mm-hmm. And for him to have to be viewing these found
footage.
Yeah, it was 8mm, you know, real
found
videos.
movie reels.
And so that was interesting. Mm-hmm. But, you know, this was one of my reaction was that I'm like, oh God, this is going to be one of those where I'm going to have to break like every 10, 15 minutes. And I did.
Half the day.
I did.
Took her half the day to finish the movie.
Because of the anxiety level. And there was a point in time when there was no problem that I would sit and watch these things. And to analyze myself, because I do that. And I think that when you truly have gone through things, mm-hmm. it just almost puts you on overload.
It shoots your nerves. It really does.
Yeah.
And you're hypersensitive to a lot of shit.
But where this guy...
I still watch horror because I love it. But
well, when we've lived it, I mean,
I'm still going to watch damn horror movies.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you're as apt to sit there and go, I want to see spoopy shit. And, you know, because we have had to deal with the spoopy shit on multiple levels.
Yeah, I'm not as apt to do that anymore. Still want to be a ghost hunter, but either way.
So, you know, but for this guy in the character to be watching these, that he's doing his research on these, and that it is bothering him from the get-go, that he starts drinking and continues to drink more and more and more, and then he was smoking and drinking. And I'm like, now, if he can't deal with this shit, he needs to put this down and find something else to research.
Yeah. Yeah, you asked me whether or not he did that as an excuse to drink or if it was stressing him out. And
Sure, that is the alcoholic's excuse. It's like, I drink because of the circumstances, or is it a matter you put yourself in those circumstances so that you have the excuse to drink? That's AA 101 logic.
That screws your mind up.
What?
What you just said.
Oh no, alcoholics have always got an issue.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's a brain breaker right
This is one of the characteristics, and I'm in that category. I will occasionally have a drink, but as far as having to go back to AA quality. No.
No, she's not even close.
So I've laughed. It's like, I don't want to have to go back to AA. They won't let you smoke in the meetings now.
Too bad.
But within that, the psychology of alcoholism, we have a tendency to always be out in tomorrow instead of dealing with today. And that's one of the ways we overwhelm ourselves, is to think of the, oh God, when this happens, and oh, when this happens, and oh, when this happens. And it really does take away from today.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That's one of the behavior modifications and thinking modifications that goes along with recovery. So it's when I joke about these things, and that's another thing with the cup of coffee. People are like, what is it with the cup of coffee? There's much symbolism in a cup of coffee in my world. Much.
You could do a whole art collection based off of coffee cups and cups of coffee.
Yeah, I could do a whole, as far as video, what this symbolism means to me. It's not just a nice, warm, comforting beverage. I mean, it is that and much more.
No, I meant like you could paint them. You could.
Oh yeah. I mean, cups of coffee, that is a wonderful art thing. But back to the movie, that this person's mental deterioration, and yet he keeps going on with this. And that the found footage supposedly not just depicts one, grisly murder, but several. And, his motives of doing this, because he had written a successful murder, what was it? Murder analysis, I guess it would be, book at one point, and had become very successful. Well, he had, it was a real life murder was what it was.
True crime.
Yes, that was what I was trying to think of. And that he had actually put the pieces together where the police or whatever was not able to. It was interesting that the character looked remarkably like David Pilates, or Pilates, I think is his name. He's the one that does Missing 411. And he was a former police officer, and he has been doing this as far as the missing people, especially missing children. And so this film Sinister dealt with the missing children. And that this being, supposedly, which was a lesser Babylonian deity, it basically fed off of different children. And from the research I
their
did,
fear, or it ate them?
It was on a spiritual level. And that's true of a lot of demons. And the little bit of research that I did do, they said that it was sort of loosely based off of Moloch. And those of us, that, as far as scripture, they did sacrifice children to this being, and which was a hideous thing. And that, even King Solomon, people's like, oh, Solomon, he was the wisest man. No, he's the dumbass, because he let go of God, and it does not matter what you've got as far as earthly things. But it even got to where he was sacrificing some of his children to this deity, which was a false deity. Absolutely. Well, people doing it today. And it's just as disgusting today as it was then.
Yeah.
So it was interesting when they showed the being, and I'm thinking, not just the picture in the found footage supposedly, but when it appeared and had snagged one of the kids, I'm thinking, it looks like one of the members from Slipknot. It did. It looked like one of the Slipknot masks, and then it had, I'm thinking, Tim, you need to wash your hair, son, because it was the long stringy hairs. But it truly did. But now the Slipknot masks are purposefully scary.
They are.
Yeah, which, again, if you go into analyzing Corey Taylor, I love Corey Taylor. I like Slipknot lots, but Corey Taylor is just an amazing artist, and he has processed a lot of his trauma and his pain through his music, and you can see that. And you can actually go on the YouTubes, and it's probably someplace else, and he's been very open about some of the things that he went through in his childhood.
Yeah.
And you can see then how he processes through the music, whether it's the anger or the rage, and he's always got like 3 or 4 bands going at one time.
How the fuck?
I'd say he's probably got a little bit of psychomotor agitation going
Just
on
a little
there.
bit.
Just a little bit. But that element works in there. And so by seeing the actual being, I mean, yes, it was disturbing, but because I had a basis to it almost with the music, I'm like, okay, I've seen this before. It's not as bad as I thought. True. It's true.
Yeah.
And so towards the end of it, and them putting the different pieces together, and that the author, did he truly want to solve this and give the victims closure, or was it about him wanting more fame and fortune and different things like that? And that was, you know...
Do you find out what his motives were?
I think it was both.
That's what I think. That's what I thought.
And that at the end, when his family was the target of this demon, and that's where you get to find out that he went through, as far as seeing the scorpion, that was the first thing that came out of the attic. Then the next time it was a serpent. And then when he was in the backyard that time, and this big dog was there, and that was, you know, the professor that understood about occult knowledge and stuff, he had shown the depictions. Now, they had really gone into detail about making some of these supposed archaeological, you know, the occult literature and stuff. Because from what I did research, that was not real. But damn, they did a good job with that. As far as they looked like the old woodcuts and stuff, but that those symbols were how the family knew that they were targeted by this thing. So, and there at the end, before his kid, one of his kids got snagged, and the sacrifice of the rest of the family. And she's standing there with the axe.
God.
And her sitting there going, "It's okay, Daddy. I will make you famous again." Ooh.
The fuck?
Well, and again, that it truly knew his motive.
Yeah.
So where he was waffling about what his true motive was, it knew what the true motive was. I appreciated that there was the, you know, allusion to the gruesomeness, but it's, you know, the movie in and of itself was not a slasher film.
No, I knew that when I saw it, but it's really good.
It has a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
And as far as gore just for gore's sake, no, that's boring. And it's just nasty. And it's like, I personally do not enjoy watching films where things could actually happen to people. You know, like the Saw movies. It's like, no. If I can watch real surgery if I want to watch some of that stuff.
Yeah. You should watch Hereditary.
I will probably watch Hereditary. I really will. Just because I like that. And like I said, I like analyzing the movies. I didn't realize that there's actually a Sinister 2 that goes in more the depth of the origin of the demon. And leave stuff alone. As far as those things in the past, people's going, oh, that's just made up. That was a fairy tale. That was just No. There was a reason that the ancients like, don't mess with this. Don't speak this thing's name. Don't look into this. You know, this exists. Don't draw it to you. Don't go looking for that thing. And how many times do people today. They're like, oh, well, those people are stupid. That's a bunch of superstition. And, we hear that all the time. We hear that applied to people who are believers. Oh, y'all just the flying spaghetti monster, and you just do, and you just do. And I'm thinking, okay, you just do. See where it gets you. Because some of us that have experienced the paranormal and the supernatural and the demonic and all that, we know who was there for us. Yeah. Yep. We have come by our faith in the hard way in a lot of ways, because I was stupid and went looking for things in places that I should not have. And, that's the reason I try to share my experience, to prevent somebody else from having to go down the path that I did. So, but my own reaction, the fact that I would have to take the breaks, and I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, am I on overload all the time to the point that I can't sit still through a movie?
Yes.
That's why I should have fixed me a cup of coffee. It calms me down. It does. Caffeine actually has, any kind of stimulant has a reverse effect on those of us that have the ADHD.
What the fuck do you want?
So,
he's controlling our lives.
These cats are so manipulative. But very much check out the movie Sinister if you have not. And I'm sure that I should have written down notes, but I didn't. It's worth seeing.
Yeah, I recommend seeing it.
And I will probably watch the second version, because they did say that it was pretty decent. Yeah. See what your response is on it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people have caught a lot of things that I did not. Now, the kid...
Especially on a second watch,
Yeah.
Or more.
Well, the kid that... the son that supposedly had the night terrors... Okay, I don't know that somnambulism goes along necessarily with night terrors, sleepwalking. Now, the few times that I have sleepwalked, it was a matter of ending up doing kind of odd things, but it was just stupid stuff.
No, you can sleepwalk and have a night terror.
Can you?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that last one I had, which was many years ago.
Kitty!
Yes, I had dreamed that something was after he who, and when I woke up, I was in the living room screaming, "Kitty, kitty." Other than that, I would do like stupid stuff, like the alarm clock would be ringing and I'm answering the telephone, or vice versa. When I was in college, a roommate looking at me like, "You've lost your mind," which, yes. But for that was some freaky scenes. Those were some really interesting freaky scenes. And when he did go outside and he had the baseball bat, the father did, because he heard something outside. And then all of a sudden he sees kid's little face poking out of the shrubberies. And I did tell youngest kid, because I was like, I'm doing an analysis. It just got me off the movie for that. And I told him, I said, you cannot make me believe that somebody that is that anxious, who has a weapon, who hears a noise, I mean, he's just ready to pop, and he sees something. There's no way that somebody's brain is going to process that is my kid quickly enough. I mean, he would have swung away before he ever figured out what that was.
Oops, sorry, gave you a little bit of brain damage.
Yeah, a little bit of concussion there. Because that's just humans, and humans, there are very few people that could be that totally detached, in control, whatever, in a very stressful circumstance like that.
Yeah.
And then that rolled in with these idiots that think that people, when they have to use lethal force, I will shoot him in the leg. No. Now, having had that type of training, it is a matter of center mass, because that's the largest part of a person's body. You have to fire either 2 or 3 shots, because the first one may not get it. And I have seen some people that were really skilled marksmen, but to take that and then to think, oh, well, you can just shoot them in the arm, shoot them in the leg. To do that while somebody is in motion, plus the stress, plus all this other stuff. Now, that is a totally unrealistic anything.
Oh, yeah.
So for those people that's like, well, just wing him, go to a firing range. Try this shit yourself. You see how you think that you would do. Now, they do have some of the simulations, especially like with the turning targets and everything. Mm-hmm. Now, we didn't have to do as far as, is this one a, good guy, bad guy, or anything like that. Some of the other officers do have to do that. But my God, it will just... Yeah, it will unnerve you.
Yeah.
So, until you've been there on that, if you can do better, then you go right on, you sign up because people are needed. But yeah, and it's the same thing with the paranormal supernatural thing. People's like, well, I wouldn't, and I would do this and I would do that. You don't know what you're going to do.
No one knows.
You truly don't. But I will tell you this, if you hear some spoopy shit, turn the damn light on.
Yeah. That's what I do. I immediately turn my flashlight on my phone. I'm like, who the fuck down there making noise?
It's like, yeah.
You show your ass so I can slap the fuck out of you.
Mm-hmm. Because we have had to deal with honest spoopy stuff. And then we've had to deal with cats. Now, I'm not opposed to, brooms. Brooms are wonderful things to have in the house.
Fly swats.
It's a great tool.
Fly swats.
Yeah.
There's no way I can get her out from behind there either.
It's okay. It'll be all right. That's where she goes and stays. And
everybody's making noise. It's time for us to go.
So if you have watched the movie and would like to respond, that would be great.
Yeah, tell us. Give us some horror movie suggestions.
Yeah, some other ones. If you know some other ones that are on this, vein, that would be great. Don't send me the suggestions. Sit there and listen to the blood drips. No. If I'm going to watch something like that, like I said, I'll go back and watch the series House. When I was in training and they showed as far as when that detective did not search dude properly.
Yeah, you did.
Now, yeah, this was real.
You've told me about that, and it's like it's still just as gruesome every single time. It's like, ugh.
Well, that was
horrible.
real. It was real. And that's why it's so gruesome. It wasn't make believe.
Yeah.
And for the people who have not heard it, this is why you search people thoroughly, and that includes the groin area, because people get very uncomfortable trying to have to pat somebody down. Mm-hmm. So they didn't pat down dude. And so after the detectives left, dude pulls the revolver out of his, out of front of his pants, shoots himself in the head. And you could hear the blood dripping. And then the detective comes back in, sees that dude is dead. The detective grabs his keys and his cell phone and leaves. Didn't even bother to check pulse, nothing like that. Nothing. So, gruesome. I've had to deal with gruesome. But, anyhow, maybe you all have had to deal with gruesome.
Yeah.
If you've had experiences with paranormal, supernatural encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, gruesomeness, any of that stuff. If you got local, regional, family, myths, legends, maybe you are from an area where you've had these odd mass murders. Around here, it's usually just a singular thing. Yeah. And around here, you have to watch out for family members. But
not that much.
Well, it depends on the family and the members thereof. Yeah.
I don't think we have that many people that will shoot you down.
No, not anymore. Most of them's died out. There was a few. Seriously, there used to be a few that you sort of sit there and go, yeah, we've got one right now that it's like, don't come up here. Don't come up here near us. And we don't want nothing to do with you. Y'all stay down that side. Anyhow, cupofcoffeewithscream at gmail.com. Thank you for pondering with us and having coffee with us. Know that you are loved. Mm-hmm. If you do have a drinking problem or something like that, get help. We've got like the national hotline thing for those who are here in America. So, yeah, don't let it take your life from you.
Yeah, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that little notification button for daily notifications of our daily uploads.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.